Tonight, a Valley man is already planning to get back on the trails after getting stranded in Joshua Tree National Park with a broken leg. Robert Ringo has made national headlines after spending 40 hours in the desert waiting for help. I spoke with him earlier. Robert, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
I have so many questions for you. But first off, how are you doing right now?
I am doing extremely well. Physically, I'm the strongest I can be. My leg's healing remarkably well. High in spirit and emotion, and have a lot of love. So I'm doing very, very well. And I'm very grateful to be here, believe me.
Well, you look good. So what happened? Let's start from the beginning.
I was doing something that was entirely, you wouldn't think twice about doing it. It'd be like getting out of your car and walking into the store. And the next thing I knew, I was in peril. And basically what it was I was in a national park out here in Southern California, Joshua Tree, and I went to look at an overlook, a rock formation. So I parked, and it's about a 10-minute walk. I had no intention of hiking, but I did grab my bag on the way because I had some water in there. I keep it in my car, and it's got, hiking things. And but if I'm going on a hike, I prepare it. This just had things I leave in there. And I went 10 minutes, and the next thing I knew, this was last Thursday, or maybe Thursday before, I'm not sure. It was a Thursday afternoon, about 5 p.m. I ended up going off of a rock, twisting in the air, and then breaking my femur, my left femur, and I landed on a boulder. And so for 24 hours after that, I was stuck in that spot. I could not move. I couldn't turn over. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't move. And I realized I needed to get out of there at some point. Now, I was in the direct sun for a better part of Friday after, I awoke and the sun came up, because I could not get out of the sun. But I was able to keep myself shaded and cooled by some things that I had in my pack. And then at about 5 o'clock on Friday, now it's been 24 hours, I was out of water, and I had figured out how to tie my leg tightly to my belt and loop it tightly so that I was able to drag myself backwards. So I began leaving the pit, and started at 5, and by about 11 o'clock that night, I was ready to rest. I was on my back. I just had on a long sleeve shirt, t-shirt, and a boonie cap and long pants. So fortunately, I was dressed right, even though it was very hot. It's proper dress, but all I could do was scooch, like maybe 6, 8 inches at a time, 10 inches on my back with my elbows and pulling my leg along. And then every time I came to a point where I had to turn, I'm on my back looking up like this, so I couldn't do anything but see there. And of course, the brush is 4 or 6 feet high. Finally, at about 9 a.m. Saturday morning, 40 hours later, I was up. I had moved up to a flat hillock and heard a helicopter and realized they were looking for someone. And where my mind was at that point was, oh, they're looking for someone. Well, then I realized it's me. And fortunately, a few moments later, the pilot and his paramedic were able to spot me. I had a walking stick with a white T-shirt on top. I surrender. It was a very humbling moment. And then they put me on the helicopter, flew me to the hospital, and everything's been rosy ever since.
What was it like not having water and being in the heat for so long?
When you can't make saliva, and actually just before they found me, some kind of balls had started forming around my lips and my eyes. And I thought, my gosh, my eyes are going to dry. And I've read about that. It's a very, very painful, and you can't see. Not that I could see much anyway, but I finally noticed something, a certain flowering cactus caught my attention. I thought, that's height, and I saw some juniper, and I thought, oh, they're juniper berries. So I'm going to see if I can get some moisture from the cactus flowers and so I just started, shimmying it. I don't know how far it was, but I'm moving in feet per minute speed. It's very, slow. Anyway, I got up there and started munching on juniper berries, and there was some moisture there, and it was a little bit of satisfaction.
Let me ask you, Robert, what compelled you to record this on your cell phone?
I didn't know. I thought it'd be interesting for me to look at later on, actually, and maybe learn some things from it as well, because I tend to record things when I'm out. When I learn something, I'll make a note of it, hike-wise, hiking desert-wise.
What have you learned through this experience, and what is the message you want other people now to hear?
It is, number one, do not wear bifocals on rocks. And I knew that, but I was coming down and I didn't flip them down, so I could just don't wear. That's why I fell. I misjudged my step. Number two, do communicate, where you are going to be, because you don't know. When I'm hiking, I rely on compass. I don't use a phone for directional purposes, but I will tag my location for that reason. But make sure somebody knows where you are, and not just, hey, I'm going out to, ride by Quail Mountain and, see you later. Have something like that in mind. And the be prepared part is basically, I'm kind of, this has really come out of this for me. Be prepared is way more than just making sure you check off the items you want to take with you on a camping trip and, notifying people and so forth. It really means that you, both mentally and materially, to the degree that you can, be prepared if you're outside, because you just don't know when something's going to happen.
Maybe another lesson you might have learned, don't go alone.
And I would recommend that for people to, not hike alone. But am I going to hike alone? It's not easy to find people to just at the spur of a moment go somewhere and hike. So
are you going to do this again?
Hike alone? Absolutely. Yeah. I just.
Robert!
There are people who have you ever seen somebody climb a rock or climbing rocks without ropes? It's like, don't do that. Well, people do that. And hiking alone is you just have to be prepared.
Going forward, you're going to be a little more careful, right?
There are some things that I'm going to tighten up some with, particularly the communication aspect of it. Just because I send a signal doesn't mean it's going to get there.
Robert, we appreciate your time. Thanks for speaking with us.
It was such a pleasure speaking with you. Have a wonderful day.